I'd like to introduce Alex, and I'll let him do his own introductions. I find reading bios very boring, but he's going to talk about a very, very interesting topic that I'm seeing more and more, sort of a very immersive trend. But the idea of how to use generative AI to transform the cybersecurity world. So, Alex, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. This conference is about how to transform the cybersecurity using artificial intelligence. Well, this is my profile. I was working in cybersecurity from 25 years ago. I'm trying to be a translator in between the business and technology. And also in the last 4 or 5 years, I was working designing security operation centers across Europe, and several I made in Spain. So in this conference, I will try to explain how to use artificial intelligence to combat the cybercrime. First of all, maybe we need to talk about the state of art on how the cybercrime is using the artificial intelligence. There is so much hype around artificial intelligence in cybersecurity and elsewhere, especially on malware generation. We know that the threat landscape is always evolving, and there may come with AI-based malware. So we are expected to see malware based on or generated by artificial intelligence. But the truth is that in nowadays, we cannot see a lot of malware generated by artificial intelligence. There is some reports from big companies that say that there is some threat actors that are trying to use public artificial intelligence models like Gemini or ChatGPT in order to improve their scripts or their artifacts. So, for example, last summer, some researchers released a proof of concept for ASPI that is a full autonomous and powered malware designed using artificial intelligence, and the quality of this kind of malware was not so fine. So at this moment, we don't need to be so afraid about that, but there is some information that some threat actors, they are using in order to trying to improve the translations from English to another languages for phishing emails and some different attacks. So we need to understand that there is risk about that, but we don't need to be afraid at this moment. But also, we can prepare our security operation centers to defend from this kind of malware generated for artificial intelligence. So one of the examples that I want to talk about is about one phishing campaign that we see several months ago, that all the code generated for this phishing email was generated by artificial intelligence. So why we can detect this? Because in the comments of the code, we see that there is a lot of explanations that use a common language that is commonly used by an artificial intelligence. So maybe the threat actor was using a general artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud or DeepSeek in order to design this Visual Basic script and JavaScript code. So it's not a code that is very, very different from the previous phishing emails that we see in the past. by the researchers, but we know that they are using or trying to use the artificial intelligence to make better scripts and to reduce the time to create this kind of malware. And also, the most common use case that they use artificial intelligence is to make translations. For example, is the threat actors from Russia. They try to use ChatGPT or Gemini in order to translate their campaign to Spanish, for example, or if they are trying to attack another country, to use better expressions in natural language for be more using a more normal language. This is the conclusion that has the report from Google. Google Threat Intelligence Group has published a book several months ago with a lot of insights around the use of artificial intelligence by the threat actors. The main findings that they find on their researching is that the threat actors experimenting with Gemini to enable their operations, finding productivity gains that I mentioned a few minutes ago, but not yet developing new capabilities with malware. At the present, they primarily use AI for researching, trying to find or to understand the exposure of their target and trying to find more information about the company that they are trying to attack, like trying to have information that can improve the possibility to have more possibilities to have exit with their malware. APT Actor used Gemini to support several phases in their attack lifecycle, including, as I mentioned, researching potential, reconnaissance of the target, vulnerabilities, payloads, etc. So we cannot be afraid, as I mentioned, that they are using or training models to design a new malware. But we can improve the cybersecurity posture of our company using generative artificial intelligence. So if we have a security operations center, maybe we can use all the information that we can obtain using a large language model to combat the cyber threats and also the cyber criminals. If we start trying to understand what is the use cases that we can use on cybersecurity, for example, perhaps the first example that comes to my mind is automating processes into a SOC, automating the mundane processes that we have day by day. We all know that today there is a lack of cybersecurity professionals, and that the automation can help us to fill this gap. So we can use the artificial intelligence in order to automate things that are repetitive into the day-by-day operations into a SOC. But we can think that we can go more further and use this artificial intelligence not only to automate the mundane activities into a SOC, but why not to use to combat the cybercrime? Let's start from the point that we all understand that the artificial intelligence is a tool and is not the solution for combat the cybercrime and to combat the cyber threats that we have currently. We can improve our detection we can improve our time to respond and also the time to resolve a threat in our companies using the artificial intelligence. And during this conference, we can see several examples how to implement this artificial intelligence into the SOC. But before to start to use the artificial intelligence into the SOC, maybe we need to understand the challenges that we have. For example, we mentioned before that the artificial intelligence has hallucination, so the adoption of artificial intelligence to solve cybersecurity problems could be a problem if they have the artificial intelligence have hallucination. So the system that we use need to be we need to make fact check with humans in order to understand that the information that comes from the artificial intelligence is true. And also we need to train this artificial intelligence with real information, with information that we have into our operations, into our security operations center. We need to take care about data privacy, so using public models with IP addresses, documents from our customers, documents with confidential information. We don't do this kind of activity. So because we don't to leak information from our customers. For example, I know there is some security operations centers, some engineers that in their day-by-day activities, they are using ChatGPT. They are putting information with IP addresses, with hashes, with malware examples, and also with pickups files in order to understand the problem that they need to address. But if they are using this kind of artificial intelligence, they are leaking information with a model that maybe can use this information to train their model. So data privacy is important when we are trying to adopt this kind of technology in our security operations. The increase of the use of artificial intelligence in some cases need to take care about what data we are using, where are using this kind of data, and how we are using this kind of data. And there is another point that we talked in the previous panel, that is quality control. The massive use of the generative artificial intelligence in unsupervised processes can lead the risk such as not obtaining accurate information of reaching erroneous conclusions. So all the processes that we need to do into a SOC should be supervised by humans. So we need to make fact check about all the information that we are obtaining from the artificial intelligence, and we need to make fine-tuning. We need to retrain again the artificial intelligence in order to obtain information that has more quality than using a general artificial model. But leaving these challenges that we need to take in care when we are trying to adopting the intelligence, the artificial intelligence into a SOC, we can evolve in the security operations center procedures and day-by-day operations using artificial intelligence. So there is some use cases that I want to comment. There is some ideas. For example, the generative artificial intelligence in SOC is trying to make a new model of security operations center. We can call them like a next generation security operations center. For example, we can automate the data analysis, so we can ingest a lot of information with raw information like logs, alerts, network traffic, pickup files, to generate actionable insights and predict emerging threats. For example, we can use the real-time information to make real-time threat detection. So analyzing historical information, patterns, and we can identify evolving attacks that detection engineer could not identify seeing the logs or seeing the information that they have. So an artificial intelligence can ingest a large amount of data and maybe can find this threat into an amount of data. So this is a good example on how to improve the security operations. And there is another point that is very interested to do into a SOC is to define new playbooks that can run autonomous. So we can define the rules of the playbook, and an artificial intelligence can create or execute actions in a dynamic playbook. So it's not a strict playbook that has action number 1, action number 2, action number 3. So the artificial intelligence can make a new step into this playbook. But we need taking care that, again, if we are trying to delegate all the actions to the artificial intelligence, we can get in troubles. So everything that we do with artificial intelligence, at this moment, we need to be supervised by humans. And also make investigations or resolve a ticket into the day-by-day operations without human intervention. For example, if there is a phishing attack and we every day do the same things, we have a procedure for resolve a ticket from a phishing attack. Maybe this can be automated, and artificial intelligence can not only make the actions on the security systems, but can answer the question from the customer, can send an email with real natural language for the customer, explaining that their ticket is resolved. If we were trying to talk about SIM technology, with the raw data that we can ingest by an artificial intelligence, we can detect anomalies into the information. We can make new correlations that we cannot think about previously. We can make the autonomous triage, and we can prioritize some of the actions that the SOC need to be in a day-by-day. And also, we can reduce the false positive, making changes in the rules that we are using. And also, we can use the artificial intelligence to make proactive threat hunting. And if we go further with these solutions into a SOC, why not to use a chatbot in a day-by-day operation? This screenshot is a proof of concept that I made in 2016 with various colleagues in Spain, that we can manage an incident response operation talking with a bot. The conversation is not in natural language because several years ago we don't have the technology that we have currently, but we can automate several actions. We can search content to resolve the information. We can manipulate the firewall, blocking IP addresses. We can talk with the chatbot in order to retrieve information about the output of a command into a system. We can get the logs, and also, why not, we can resume all the operations and make a report that we can send to our boss or to the customer, resuming all the actions that we do during the incident response. So this is not fiction, this is real. Nowadays, there is technology that can make a resolution of an incident talking with an artificial intelligence in natural languages. And there is another use case that I implement 2 years ago in a security operations center here in Spain, that in the same screen that the analyst was working to making the triage of the alert, in another window, the analyst can see a step-by-step procedure with all the information that needs to do, not only with the procedure, also with the information, with the context information about the observables of the IP addresses, the domains, the hashes, and all the information that is important to resolve the case. So the level 1 incident handler analyst has in one screen all the information to resolve the case. So this is another example on how to use artificial intelligence in a day-by-day operations. And for example, there is another use case for repetitive operations into a SOC. For example, most of the time for a detection engineer is a task that is trying to gathering and analyzing threat intelligence from various sources, including threat feeds, including security logs, network traffic, etc. A system that is AI-powered can automate these processes, but continuously scanning and aggregating information from internal and external sources, enriching with context and trying to correlate this information with previous investigations in the SOC. So this is an example. This is an open source tool that make these kind of things that I mentioned. And also, if we compare an incident response with artificial intelligence and an incident response without artificial intelligence, we have more things that are very, very interesting to implement. I have only 7 minutes, so I need to go fast with the rest of the slides. So, for example, with incident response, we can make focus on the incident, not only on the tool that we are using. We don't need to jump into several applications. We can use one screen, one application to have all the information that we need to resolve the incident. We can have traceability. We can make authorization and registration of every step that we do into the SOC. And this can improve the time that we use to resolve an incident. Another use case is how design deception environments using artificial intelligence. For example, if we put into a RAG all the information about our systems, servers, applications, versions of the software, we can replicate and make in real time new applications, new servers, new virtual machines in a private cloud or in a public cloud that is a replica of the real environment that we have. And we can use artificial intelligence to block the network traffic, to put new firewall rules in order to move the attackant to this environment. So this is another of use case that we can use. And another one that is very interested, and I was using it in my previous work, was the application that can read all the code that we have in our repository and also propose recommendations for the issues that we find. For example, if into our code we have cross-site scripting vulnerability, the artificial intelligence can make a new issue into the repository with the solution. So in our CI/CD process, we can put this kind of applications in order to improve the security and also to improve the time to have more new releases and also releases with more security. So this is an example of an application that is also compliance with the regulations. So not only is reading the code to find vulnerability, the artificial intelligence can compare the security controls that has the regulation that we are trying to put in place in our country with the code that we have. So it's a good example on how to improve the work of cybersecurity using the artificial intelligence. And finally, there is some conclusions that I want to put in place here, that the artificial intelligence is not easy to implement into a security operations center, because first to adopt this kind of technology, the security operations centers should be very, very mature. So the SOC needs to have all the procediments, all the procedures well defined. We need to wait to design how to adopt the technology. We cannot automate everything. We cannot adopt every technology, because if we are trying to adopt this kind of technology without thinking how to implement into a SOC, could be a problem, and we can invest a lot of money, and the results from this investment could be zero. I was in my previous work, when I was making explanation about how to implement this kind of technology, I see several companies that try to be more technological, using a lot of tools with a lot of technology, but the most important thing into a SOC, that is the procedures, the procediments, and also the personnel that are working on it. They don't have this kind of information. So they are thinking that the technology is the solution. But the technology is not only a tool, could be a solution if you have the things that you need to put in a paper. You need to certificate your work in order to be more mature and to adopt this kind of technology. And this is all. Thank you for your time. Thank you to be here. And so sorry for my English. I trying to do my best. And thank you very much. I don't know if there is any question.
I think we're out of time.
We have 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Any questions from the audience?
It's fine.
See one. The microphone's coming.
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot for your presentation. And by the way, your English is perfectly fine. So it's you do not need to apologize about that. Regarding the timeline, do you have any timeline in mind when you talk about the evolution of the SOC from nowadays standpoint to an ASOC, or a time where most of the companies may be using ASOCs? Thanks.
I think there is not a timeline, because it depends on the maturity of the company. Maybe in 3 years we can start talking about autonomous SOC. I was writing an article on my blog trying to explain that could be in 2 years or 3, we can use this kind of technology as a normal day-by-day operation. But nowadays it's complicated, because one of the things that is a big problem is that the thing that I was talking a few minutes ago, the maturity of the SOC. For example, in Europe, we have a lot of security information SOCs, or for example, in Spain, we have more than 150 SOCs, but only about 20 are certificated. So around 20 has procedures that demonstrate that it's a mature SOC. So maybe we need to start certificating the SOCs before to adopting this kind of technology. So I think in 2-3 years, we can start talking about this is the next generation SOC, and this is the normal operation using artificial intelligence. And there is companies that are trying to put this technology into their operations. In the past, I was trying to implement this kind of technology in my previous work, but with no luck. Thank you.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you very much.